Any other questions for right here? Who is your favorite monster? Is that for everybody? Everybody.
I was always partial to Creature from the Black Lagoon, just because he was kind of different and classic monsters, classic monsters. But Creature was great. Our Gillman was awesome, and I'm sure Tom Woodruff would be here, but I think he's on set with Shane and Fred right now, wearing a Predator suit. But he has a penchant for getting himself into these tight spaces. It's crazy. But I really liked our Gillman because that suit was amazing. And besides Carl, which was, super constrictive and hot and heavy, that thing was like a one-piece latex zip-up thing that he stayed in for like 12 hours. So historic, like movie franchise-wise and ours, I like Gillman, but I think we have some of the best representations of just about all the monsters, and no one else is done. And I think that works too. So all of them.
I think as far as Monster Squad goes, I love Frankenstein's monster. I love that character. I think Tom does a good job. If we're going like all monsters, okay, Freddy Krueger, probably the greatest monster ever.
Clearly Frankenstein, of course. And then I was petrified of Jason as a kid, if we're going all monsters ever. Because Friday the 13th was out when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 when I first discovered it, and it scared the Jesus out of me.
Klaus Kinski.
Just Klaus Kinski, the actor, is scary enough.
Yeah, he stole it. I'd have to say Grendel and Grendel's mother, Beowulf, but it's not really necessarily anything that's happened in film. It's more a lot of literature with a different Beowulf adaptations that I've read. And I'd have to say that's my monster. 2 monsters.
Definitely the old classics. That's why I was really cool to play the Wolfman, because it was in the half of the old classics. But I'm a big fan of the devil. And you don't necessarily always see the devil, like in The Exorcist and The Omen. They represent bad and evil. Sometimes not showing it can be a lot more scary sometimes than actually seeing it.
What came to my mind was eyes. There had to think of a certain thing about eyes. Like I love the classic 30s movies, the horror films, and the scary eyes of Dracula and the Mummy. It's like, scared this craziness out of me. And I just did a story. I did this thing called Story Salon. We tell stories and everything. And just like I focused on this episode of The Twilight Zone. And it was an episode called Beauty is in the Eye of the Beholder. And the doctors and nurses, they had like pig noses, and that was the beautiful people, and the beautiful people were supposed to be the ugly people. But when I was a little kid, I saw that. I jumped, scared the shit out of me. It was scary, crazy. But eyes, just like they creeped me out. And Children of the Damned, Eyes, filmed in '64, scared me too. My brother took in the newspaper. They had a picture of Children of the Damned, the kids, and he did this thing on me where it's like I come upstairs and he's reading the paper, and he knows I'm scared of it, so he goes like this. I jumped a mile. I was so mad at him. So scared the shit out of me.
From Another World, from the 50s.
Time for a few more questions. Any other in the very back there? Yes, sir.
Okay, this is kind of a silly question. I wanted to know what the deal was in the very first scene in Dracula's tomb. Why are there
Armadillos in Dracula's tomb in the very first scene? That's an excellent question. No.
Does everybody else want to take? I
can't remember the filmmaker's name, but it's an homage to a movie by Fred that had an in it. Because everybody asks why there are armadillos in Eastern Europe. They're not even Eastern Texas. And that it's, I can't remember the film, I always blank on it when I'm trying to think of it. There is a reason, a specific reason, but not the first time it's been asked, but it's a good notice. You know, it's an homage to something that Fred had always grown up with and liked and wanted to put it in there.
We start picking apart the logic of Monster Squad. Yeah, that's where you want to be. There we don't have to. Anyway, over here. Yeah.
Yes, this is supposed to be for Steven, but maybe you guys can answer. How was working with Stan Shaw? If there was any memorable moments working with Stan?
Yeah, Stephen, been working with Stan Shaw, your partner.
He was right there. I mean, he always had a sense of humor about it, and he could express in his own way type version of reality. So I could play against play undercut. And we became friends, and I've always looked forward to him joining us. And for some reason, he never showed up. And I'm sorry about that. I really am. But the real thing I wanted to talk about, I want to hear it from you. Several panels, they always say, why don't you do a Monster Squad 2? I don't believe you. I believe this was the last very idyllic kids movie against sort of storybook monsters who were rooted in somewhat reality. But I think the monsters are for real now. They're out there. And if you have anything that you take away from this movie, the courage of those kids who stood up and fought the real monsters, I would say, go out and do that.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? In the very back there? Yes, sir?
So, like, there's also a sequel of having, like, is that still, like,
Yeah, has there been any talk about a Monster Squad 2 or a reboot of any kind? Or because yeah, I remember hearing discussions about the next wave of monsters would have been addressed, and like the 50s and 60s, that sort of thing. Has there been any discussion? Have you guys heard anything about Monster Squad officially coming back?
Well, as we all may or may not know, back 5, 6, 7 years ago, they were remaking it. So there was a reboot of Monster Squad that ended up officially being smushed last year.
Good.
Which, yeah, usually has applause, and the internet fandom applauded that as well. As for other stuff, there's something going on right now that I don't know the actual underpinnings of it. But as for a sequel, like Stevens, I mean, I think it almost is a standalone, which is great if you leave it there. But always on the set, we were talking about, okay, now we do the sequel when this movie goes ballistic in the theaters, which it didn't. And, we're gonna, fight Godzilla from airplanes next time or something. And then we get joined by Johnny Quest and a bunch of other people. But I think there's, especially when not doing the remake, I think there's room for a return, but it would have to be done exactly right. And, carry on the things that we did in the first, but I don't think there's anything in the works. I know there's a really cool story somewhere that someone has, but nothing official that I know of. I may not know as much as others. It would be fun, but it would have to be, anything you do with it has to be done. If it's carrying on what we did, I think it would have to be done exactly right for the original fan base that also brings in that next fan base, instead of just shooting for something bypasses y'all. You know, you have to make it for them. In my
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Monster Squad is more timely now than it's ever been. I mean, look at Stranger Things. If that's not Monster Squad's audience, then what is? I mean, I'm watching Stranger Things going, this is every movie I've seen in the 80s, all blended together. And it's just, actually, I think it'd be fun to see Monster Squad as a TV show. Bring it back as a like a short form TV series. That would be fun. So, anyway, anywhere right down here in the front?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I appreciate you guys coming out. Actually, Michael really kind of segued into the question I had. So the movie's a kid's movie, but it's not at all, really. Like, Dracula is unrelenting. I mean, he's kind of scary, you know. Do you feel like, and I've always felt like it's, like you said, more timely now, do you feel like some of the pushback and the reason why it wasn't successful is because a lot of people had a hard time digesting the fact that Dracula's calling a girl a bitch and he's blowing stuff up and and he's smoking. It's a little weird. So I didn't know what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, did you think the movie was maybe a little too hard edged for people at that time? Because it's a kid's movie, but it definitely has some adult elements that were unusual at the time.
I jump because I actually have like a set thing that to answer your question, and I'll let someone else do it too. The movie was too much, like your regard, for 10 and 11-year-olds. And their parents see the trailer and be like, no way, I'm not driving my kid to the mall to see this. And it was too kid-oriented for 15 and 16-year-olds to be like, I'm too cool to go see that movie. There's like a 5-year-old who happens to be our hero of the movie. So in essence, we actually made the first tween movie, but it wasn't marketed as a tween movie because we didn't know what tweens were then. And then I think our original marketing campaign was a fantastic viral marketing campaign, but the internet wasn't around yet. Because it was all the posters because all the monsters had these great wanted dead or alive type things, like mug shots. It was really neat. It was a call to action. But where do you go? Where's that action go? And I think that's what kind of stunted it. The audience narrowed. And if they had marketed for tweens, I always joke, we would have made like Monster Squad 11 Breaking Dawn by now if we knew it was a tween.
Oh, I would kill to see the Monster Squad take out sparkly vampires. And anyone down the panel, your thoughts on when the movie came out? Obviously, it wasn't a success. How was it disappointing to you, or were you on to the next job at that point? And what did you think of the movie when you first saw it? And were you surprised that it didn't connect?
Yeah, I was surprised, but I take full responsibility for any failure I exist for it. Because my line, "Give me the amulet, you bitch," sort of popped the movie into the next category at that time. That was an appropriate thing to say around children. Probably still isn't. But it did kind of, as I was just saying, change the category and bumped it up a little bit. So, in another way, the movie was obviously a little bit ahead of its time. Hence, all of you are here. And hopefully we'll go on. I mean, it's got its legs now. We didn't have legs then. I think the other thing that, it's all timing with movies coming out and what the competition is and exactly what's going on in politics. Everything affects whether the movie will have an audience or a success. And maybe that wasn't the right time, but now it is.
Same weekend as the Lost Boys.
Yes.
We were like against the Lost Boys. And so
Awesome
if you were
weekend.
14 and you wanted to go see a vampire movie, you went to see the Lost Boys. And because this was too young, like on Thursday.
Yeah, it's like after it came out, it's kind of like, it's like, wow, this is a cool movie. And it's like, but from that point on, I started falling into like playing creatures and monsters and everything. It's just like a catapult. It's going, rocking and rolling and everything. But it really surprised me that years later, it's like, it's like there's wonderful fans like you. It's like became this cult classic film, and it's very cool. And you guys were just really wonderful. It's like, wow, this is really great. So it was really quite a surprise, a pleasant surprise at that.
So we are going to wrap things up here in a minute, but I just wanted to say, when this movie came out, I was 14 years old, so I was the same age as a lot of the kids in the movie. And I related to the Monster Squad more than I did, say, a film like The Goonies, because I looked at the kids and I recognized myself in your characters. I wanted to believe, I wanted to be Rudy. I kind of thought I was Sean. I was perceived as Horace because, well, come on. And, but really, I was more like Phoebes because I was kind of precocious and I used a lot of foul language. So I understood these people very much, and I was terrified of the monsters. The movie had a wonderful edge to it, and yet it was so heartfelt that you could go from Dracula walking nonstop, killing people left and right without breaking a stride, to 5 minutes later having Frankenstein in a vortex holding a teddy bear and I'm crying. This movie did a lot of things right. It is only now finally getting the credit for it, and it's proof that the movie's connecting because there's not a single seat open here, and there's a reason for that. So give it up for the cast. We actually have Andre has one quick thing to say.
All right. Ryan and I are working on a little thing that we, well, sitting down is better than we can say everybody, because we're able to go, bro. Ryan and I are working on a project, and everywhere we go as a group, we get our groups to do one thing. And we've said it a couple of times tonight. It's the line of the movie that everybody knows. So a big group of Wolfman's got nards on 3. We ready? We gonna need a line reading? Are we all good? We're good? All right.
Wolfman!